Good people, welcome to FiddleHed Fiddle Lessons. Let's learn about Dorian scales. They sound like this. Besides sounding beautiful, why bother learning another scale, right? Well, one reason is that it'll help you learn cool tunes more easily. Tunes like Swallowtail Jig, Cluck Old Hen, these tunes all use the Dorian scale, so Cluck Old Hen is in D Dorian. Okay, so they will also improve your technique on the fiddle, and they prepare you for improvisation. I know a lot of you are curious about improvisation, about playing with others, kind of playing in jams, and if you have more command of scales, then it's more easy for you to fit in and play and figure out things to play, or just pick up the tunes like I mentioned earlier. So in this lesson, I'm going to show you two ways to build a D Dorian scale. Now, you could just memorize it. And on the lesson page, I have sheet music, fingerings, and audio play along. So you could just do a brute memorization of it, and that works too. But I think it's a good idea to build it yourself and understand how they work. That really helps you with improvisation and the musicality element of playing with people and making music. Okay, so let's do it. So the first way we're going to do it, I call the same notes, different root method. I'm open to better titles, but right now, same notes, different root. So the basic idea is we start with a major scale like D major, and let's use a D drone as we play the D major scale. So we just play it. D open, 1, 2, 3, open A, 1, 2, 3. So the basic idea of modes is that if we start those same notes on a different note, we'll get a different emotional quality. So there's 7 notes in the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we start over with D on A3. So each one of those 7 notes is going to give us a different emotional quality. If we start it on the second step, which is D1 for D major, then we're going to get an E Dorian scale, which will have a certain emotional quality. And that's all we're going to work. We're only going to work with Dorian mode today because I think that's enough. So let's do that now. And I'm using iTabla for my drone in case you're curious. So now, just play the root note, D1. Connect with the drone. I have drones on the lesson page as well. And now we're going to play the exact same notes as D major, but we're going to start D1 and go one higher to open E, so that it starts and ends on E and E. That is your E Dorian scale. This helps you to play tunes like Swallowtail Jig, Road to Lisbon Verna, C, O'Keefe Slide. Probably just hundreds, maybe thousands of other fiddle tunes, okay? So that's the basic idea. Before we move on, a fun thing you can do with these two scales is alternate. So I can play in E Dorian a little bit and then play in D a little bit, and notice the change in emotional quality. Add a melodic variation. Go back to E Dorian, from D major to E Dorian. Isn't that cool? It's very different emotion. And so you can do that on your own by switching the drone. It's a little tricky. I mean, you just have to manually switch it. You don't even need to use a drone to practice with this. I think having that backup really brings it together in your mind. You could also use something like any kind of play along track, like a strum machine or something like that. Okay, so before we're still working on the same notes, different fruit method. Okay, so remember, E Dorian had the same notes as D major. We started that on D1. If we start on A1, we'll get another Dorian scale. I don't have another string, so I'll use fourth finger. And this would be B Dorian. And its parent major scale would be A major, or starting on open A. Okay, cool. Let's do one more transposition. Let's do the same finger pattern for Dorian, but start G1. What scale would that be? What Dorian scale? It's A Dorian. And what would its parent major scale be? G Dorian. It's G major. Okay, so I just want to say, if the theory aspect, like we're trying to figure out the parent scale, major scale, if that doesn't make sense, just don't worry about it. Just keep playing it. Play your theory. That's my message to you today, is that it takes time. It took me years to I don't even fully understand it now. It took me years to get to a point where it was useful. Okay? So just keep playing it. And if you don't understand it, just practice the scales, and especially going between a parent major like G major and A Dorian will help you a lot. The second way we can build a Dorian scale from a major scale is to use the same root but different notes. So let's go back to D major and just play it again and review it. This time count the steps. 1, 2, first, second, third, fourth step, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth step. The eighth step is basically 1 starting over again. All right, because it's the same note. It's D, D. All right, so what we can do now is keep that same D root, keep the same D drone, but lower some notes on the scale. So we can we'll lower the third and seventh steps. So first, second, third step. Third gets lowered to a half step to F natural. You could already feel that different emotional quality. It's a minor sounding scale. Do the same thing on A. Open 1, 2. 2 gets lowered to low 2. Now play the entire D as in dog Dorian scale. Ooh, that's cool. Now here's a really fun thing we can do. We can alternate between D Dorian and D major without even changing our drone note. Here's D major. I just added a melodic variation to the pattern. A little pattern that you do on each step. I have tons of other lessons on melodic variation. It's one of the greatest, most fun things you can do with the scales. So now we change the emotional quality, play D Dorian. I'm kind of wandering around the scale a little bit now. Back to D major. Can't you hear and feel the difference? All right, So let's just do a similar, just to show you how it works. One more thing I wanted to show you while we're in D is, in addition to just straight going between the scales or doing sort of wandering in each scale, kind of a form of improvisation right there, we could alternate between tunes really easily, or even tune phrases. So start with a D major tune like Arkansas Traveler, and then play something like Shady Grove. Funkin' Jig, D major. Cluck Old Hen, D Dorian. And so on and so forth. So let's just close out by doing this same process of same root, different notes let's do it with G major. So we're going to start with G major. And now we just lower the third and seventh steps. 1, 2. There's the third step. Third step. So notice this is the same fingering as D Dorian. But knowing how to lower the third and seventh step will help you figure out how to play Dorian scales when the fingering is different. So here's A major starting G1. That's the lower octave, right? Now I'm going to play its Dorian scale. You guess what the root of it is going to be. If I start on A, actually no, we're going to stay in A, and what we're going to do is just lower the third and seventh steps. There's the first lower. So A major, we're going to lower that raised third, and then that too. All right, I hope that gives you a bit of a better understanding about Dorian scales. They're really beautiful and very useful. So if you have any questions, drop me a line. Until then, keep on fiddling. Go to FiddleHed.com for a progressive, step-by-step course outline, color-coded tabs, play-along tracks, sheet music, and much more. Thanks for watching the video. Excellent! And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.